An Iranian missile punched through Israel's air defenses and hit an upscale residential neighborhood in Tel Aviv. People who arrived at the scene found a crater in the middle of the road, the facade of an apartment building next to it badly damaged, and cars in the surrounding area crushed flat. Israeli police estimated the warhead carried around 220 pounds of explosives. Israel's defense systems had operated. They had not intercepted it. 6 people were wounded by the shrapnel that spread across the street. Firefighters were dispatched to the area to extinguish several vehicle fires. And this was not even the most alarming part of what Iran fired at Israel that morning. Iran fired missiles at Israel at least 8 separate times on March 24th alone, with impacts reported at no fewer than 4 sites across the country. Sirens sounded across Tel Aviv, Beersheba, Haifa, and large stretches of northern and southern Israel simultaneously as the barrages arrived in overlapping waves. Hezbollah launched 2 separate rocket barrages from southern Lebanon into the Haifa area the same morning, timed to compound the pressure on Israel's air defense operators, who were already tracking incoming fire from the east. The coordination was not subtle, and it was not accidental. What made this attack different from the preceding days of the conflict was the weapon Iran chose to deploy. The IRGC confirmed it had employed the Fatah series of hypersonic missiles in recent strike waves, including the Fatah 1 and the more advanced Fatah 2 hypersonic glide vehicle. These are not conventional ballistic missiles. A standard ballistic missile follows a predictable arc, climbs to its peak altitude, and descends on a trajectory that Israel's Arrow and David's Sling interceptor systems were specifically engineered to track and destroy. A hypersonic missile travels at speeds exceeding Mach 5, which is more than 6,000 kilometers per hour, and unlike a ballistic projectile, it can maneuver mid-flight. It does not follow a fixed arc. It can shift its trajectory as it descends, meaning the interceptor fired to destroy it at one predicted location arrives at a point in space that the missile has already left. Iran said its hypersonic strikes shook the shelters across Tel Aviv. Iranian state media released video footage of the launches. The timing of this escalation connects directly to a problem that has been building inside Israel's defense architecture since the first days of Operation Epic Fury. The Wall Street Journal reported, citing a senior US official, that Israel is running critically low on Arrow interceptor missiles, the specific system built to handle long-range ballistic threats. The shortage stems from the sustained volume of Iranian fire over the preceding 3 weeks, combined with the limited production capacity for Arrow interceptors, which take time and significant industrial resources to manufacture. A senior American official confirmed that Washington had been aware of the shortfall for months and had responded by deploying additional US assets across the region, but did not specify how many interceptors remained in Israel's stockpile or when resupply might arrive. What that shortage means in practical terms is that the introduction of hypersonic missiles, weapons that are harder and more expensive to intercept even with a full inventory of interceptors, arrives precisely at the moment when Israel's ability to keep intercepting everything thrown at it is at its most constrained.
Wow, bebattez ses coups.
The IRGC had previously used the fatter one on March 4th, claiming in its statement at the time that the attack had been carried out using hypersonic missiles and drones, and that Iran had by that point destroyed 7 modern American and Israeli radar systems in the region. On March 24th, the deployment was broader, combined with conventional ballistic barrages, cluster munition missiles, drone swarms from Hezbollah in Lebanon, and rocket fire from Iranian-backed militias across multiple directions simultaneously. The layered nature of the attack is the point. Each wave arriving from a different direction and at a different speed forces Israel's air defense operators to divide their attention, consume interceptors across multiple threat categories at once, and make real-time decisions about which incoming missiles to prioritize when they cannot stop all of them. The missile that hit the Tel Aviv street on March 24th was carrying a 100-kilogram warhead. The apartment building next to the crater had its facade torn off. The cars on the surrounding block were crushed by the pressure wave. 6 people were wounded. Around 15 people in Israel and 4 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank have now been killed by Iranian strikes since the war began on February 28th. The number would be considerably higher without Israel's layered defense systems, and both of those facts are true at the same time, which is the central tension of a war in which Iran is firing weapons that are designed specifically to make those defense systems fail. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif announced on March 24th that his country stands ready to host talks between the United States and Iran, tagging Trump, a US envoy, and Iran's foreign minister directly on social media. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner had already been negotiating separately with Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, according to Israeli officials. Iran's position on a ceasefire has not changed formally. Its parliament speaker said Tehran is certainly not seeking one. What has changed is that 24 days into a war the Trump administration predicted would take 4 to 5 weeks, Iranian hypersonic missiles are landing on residential streets in Tel Aviv. Israel's Interceptor stockpile is under documented pressure, and the diplomatic channels that could end the fighting are active but unresolved. The window that was supposed to close this war is still open. Iran is still firing, and the weapons it is firing now are faster and harder to stop than the ones it started with.